Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are in for a special treat because we have the amazing Terri Santiago-Parker. She is a divisional vice president with Cross Country Mortgage, bringing 29 years of experience in residential lending. She leads her residential branch in partnership with her husband and a team of 25 employees, including 2 of her sons. Terri's also the co-owner of Park Lot Commercial Lending, TMI Coaching, JNT Properties, Woodbury Advertising, RTJ Renovations, and they're all active, operating, successful companies. She also owns and manages a portfolio of 17 properties, primarily located in South Carolina, including a mix of long-term and short-term rentals, as well as a commercial property. As a bilingual Hispanic female, Terri is passionate about helping others succeed, primarily educating local communities on home ownership and helping others build their future through home and property ownership. Now, Terri, wow, what an incredible bio there. And we're gonna unpack some of that. But the way that we start Wednesday Wisdom, very simple. We go through life, we learn from so many things. We learn as young children, we read, we learn through business, interactions, and certain things kind of sit with us. They stay in our hearts. And I feel that when we share those wisdoms, sometimes there's people out there that need to be reminded or need to hear that. So Terri, to kick us off, please share a piece of advice or wisdom that you live by, and how do you apply it to your life?
So one, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm honored because you are such a powerhouse woman, and so I'm just so happy to be here. But I will say, I learned this from my mentor many, many years ago, and her name was Carla Biancanello, and she always used to say, focus on the things you can control. And so it sounds silly to say that, but honestly, I apply it at my everyday business activities, because the one thing that we can control is how we make people feel. We can, well, not necessarily how we make them feel, but how we give them the things that they need and provide the experience that they're looking for, and making them feel good in that aspect. Because ultimately, you can't make people feel good, but that in that aspect is what I'm talking about.
My goodness, Terri, what a powerful statement, because so many times we get caught up in things that it almost causes our own anxiety, right? Because whether it's interest rates, whether it's the economy, whether it's what other people are, how they react to things, we can't control any of that. None of those things we cannot create. We cannot actually control the outcome, but we can control how we react to those things, what our next action is. And to your point, when you were saying about how we take care of other people, what so special. And there's so many I want to jump into on this bio also. And one thing I have to right off the top address, you mentioned that you work with your 2 sons. I also do that.
Oh, wow.
And that is something very important in my life. And I know we're going to get into all these amazing things you do in the industry and beyond, but I have to ask, because I don't know if I've ever met someone that also works with their 2 sons from a woman leadership standpoint. I have to ask you, why did you do that? Like, how did that come about? And I also want, because I know my answer to this question, how is it working with your children? And how do you feel as a mom? I want to know from a mom perspective, how does that change your dynamic with your boys when you work with them? Please share.
Okay, so lots of things. Great questions, by the way. One, I had my first son when I was 17 years old. I've been with my husband for 35 years this March. So we've been together since I was 15 and he was 16 years old. So we had our first child very young. We have 3 boys and they're 7 years apart almost to the day.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? So, so Joe is my first son, who actually is our branch manager and manages our production. And honestly, when I started years ago and went out on my own back in 2008, my son at the time was about 17 years old. And really, it sounds so like adoring because he's such a loving soul, is that he really started working with me to help me out. He was like, let me cold call. I mean, we literally started in the mortgage business calling clients out of the white pages because
oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Right? So basically it started with his just admiration for seeing my work ethic and wanting to help me. And then of course he, went to college, went on and got married and all that, working here the whole time while being a full-time college student, graduating from Rowan for communications. But, he just moved up. And when he finished college, he realized that he could make more money and that his passion was here in sales, helping people, that he kind of just stayed with it. And now he's very successful loan originator and branch manager. But like you probably know this already, my boys have all very different personalities, right? Joe is very, very loving, caring, a high I in personality. And Nick is very analytical, very detail-oriented, very matter-of-fact, and a very C personality. And so Nick, on the other hand, who is 25 years old right now, swore he'd never work with us. He's like, I'm never working with you crazy people. I'm not going to work that hard like you guys and stuff like that. So he also went to Rowan University, went to college, all that, went for engineering, and just was not going to do the mortgage business. But through the jobs of being a college student, he just wasn't making, you're pumping gas and you're doing retail and whatnot. And so my son Joe was like, you should just try it out. And he came in as an opener, just as like a side hustle to verify, tax identifications and socials and whatnot. And so now he's turned into our head processor. He has a natural instinct in just remembering details from his like personality and his natural talents. And so he closes the most units in our region as a processor at 25 years old. And you probably know this better than anybody else. It is such a true blessing. And sometimes I just want to like cry that like my oldest son is married, has 3 children. And normally, like we all know as women, like our kids get, they get married and they do their thing and they move on. And then, you got boys, not girls. And you don't get to see them that much sometimes or whatever, right? But I get to, even though our daily interaction is not so much mom and son in the day-to-day, but it's just so awesome to be able to like see them every day and say, how's the kids, how's the wife, how's the, how are you doing, and seeing them also grow within their own careers literally right in front of my eyes every day, and being the one that like taught them this is like such an extension of like the normal motherhood, that when you actually really think about it, it's like emotionally overwhelming and like it's a true blessing. And now Jax, my 3rd son, finishes high school this year, and the other boys are like, you're gonna come in, you're gonna start, whatever. And he's the same thing. I'm never coming in the mortgage industry, but yeah. So it's great because we work so hard. You can imagine 30 years, right? You the same. And who are we gonna leave it to if not our children? So
Terri, first off, everyone listening, this is the reason why everyone should have a podcast or step out of your comfort zones to have conversations, because I'm about to release how similar Terri and I's lives are, but yet we never knew each other until someone in the industry thought it would be great if we met each other. Okay? So, Terri, I met my husband when I was 17. I had we celebrated 36 years of marriage yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
I had my first son at 2 weeks before my 20th birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So sounds like he was also 17 in 2008. So it sounds like that all lined up. So I have one son that's my youngest, that's extremely analytical, went and got a computer science degree. That's my vice president of technology. That also said he would never come into the industry. And then my oldest one is the creative. So he's the other side of the spectrum, and he does all of the training and learning and development and all the product development and new programs and all that. So Terri, we never met before. We had no idea that all of those similarities, I do not have a third, so you do have an extra child there. I only have two. Everything that Terri just said, the blessings that we have, that we are able to have that relationship with our boys, because to all those boy moms out there, in the words of my mother, you have to hand the boys over to their wives. We don't get to keep them. The daughters get to stay with us, and the boys you have to hand away. But when we work with them, we get an extra relationship, and it allows us to keep a bond that sometimes you don't get to keep. And you are correct. As we're building our businesses, who better to take them over in the future than these children, whether they're sons or daughters? Of course, it doesn't matter if they're sons or daughters. But of course, who better than our legacy behind us? So, Terri, I love this conversation because besides the fact of all that greatness, it goes to show again, and I promote this all the time, reach out to people, everyone out there. You have conversations with people maybe you don't know, because we're all connected in one way in that string of the mortgage industry that bonds us together. And we all know the stress and all the difficulties, but there's a lot of joy and beauty and love in the mortgage industry too. And those are the things we want to focus on. All right. So Terri, now tell me, okay, now I'm going deeper into, you're a full entrepreneur. You've got all these different businesses, and we have that in common too. I have 10 businesses also myself.
Oh my
so
gosh.
on that. Also, most of my stuff is in either insurance or technology. So that's kind of my stuff. But I want to hear, what got you into these, and how do you manage all of this? How do you keep, all of it under control and organized? So please give us that insight.
Well, I will say that it first started with having mentors that I would meet in different industries. And as I'd get approached throughout the years, and they'd always, coach me, gave me advice and all the great things that mentors do. But I'd always say, I want to do one thing. I don't want to be like the master of 9 things. I want to be the master of one thing. I want to go to a baby shower, a barbecue, or a birthday party, and I want people to think, I want to buy a house, I want to take out a loan, I want to ask Terri Parker. And so for many years, I was very hesitant. I don't know if this is the same with you.
Me too.
But I was very hesitant to start new businesses because I was afraid of what people would say or things like that.
And
but I will say,
right? And diluting it, right? Yeah.
Thinning myself out, or not being present, or not being able to do a good job, not deliver good service, the things that are important to a good business, right? Or to a good person. But I will say that my businesses kind of started to talk to one another. So for example, as a mortgage person, it was natural to start buying properties and investing. You would have, deals come to you. So you would naturally do fix and flips and, all these different types of things that would just come across your desk. And so then we decided, we need to start holding some of these properties again for legacy, reasons. And I started going to South Jersey RIA meetings with Sharon Mancini, and I started learning from other top investors how to do midterm rentals, how to do short-term rentals, what the return on investment was. And so in talking again to mentors, they were like, hey, if you have a portfolio of properties, that's a business within itself, and you need to insure it and protect it in this manner. And so that's kind of how the one business started. But the biggest business that I'm most passionate about, that taught me the most, is that I was driving to South Carolina with my husband, and I was naturally on the phone with a loan officer who doesn't work, at cross country, and I was giving them all the tools and all the tips and all the everything, and I was on the phone with them for almost 2 hours. And my husband looked at me and was like, babe, I love your spirit of wanting to help people naturally, but you're just giving so much of yourself and so much of your time to help someone else. you really sound really good at it. And, he kept saying to me, like, you're just giving too much information and just kept coming up in conversation. And he was like, have you ever thought about like starting a coaching company? And I was like, no, like I'm not qualified to do that. I was like, I just want to help somebody or whatever. And it just kind of like dawned on me. And I thought, you know what? I think I could actually do that. So I realized quickly, if I have the systems and the structure of, time management, a perfect work week, prioritization, you really can repeat that if you have a great team behind you to handle the other things. And so that's how I ended up starting TMI 3 years ago, where I now have 27 students. I have not had one student leave since I started. And I also started a very affordable coaching company, because what I also found was a lot of top producers were paying, for myself, I was paying $4,000 a month to my coach. And I didn't want to do it for that. I wanted to charge, between $500 and $750 a month. I wanted it to be only to offset my time. The cost was only to offset my time. And I really wanted to do it to help people. And what I found, surprisingly, this is going to be the biggest thing. What I found is that through coaching other people and creating accountabilities partners within the coaching company, my own production grew by 20%. Because now I was accountable to them, saying, hey, I can't tell somebody to do something. I'm not going to do it myself, right? Mm-hmm. And then they'd give me feedback like, oh, I did this thing, and, I got so many leads from it and so many deals from it. And I thought, well, crap, I got to do that also if I'm telling somebody else. And then naturally my business started growing tremendously. And so I basically took the mortgage systems and structures that I had in place, and the things I was teaching, the systems and structures I was teaching students through TMI, which, by the way, most of the students I coach in TMI are not mortgage originators, surprisingly. Most of them are business owners from other businesses altogether. Insurance, I coach the owner of Real Producer Magazine as an example. So different businesses that I've got to learn from as well. So it's been tremendous value. But the point is that once you get it down, this as well, you can do it over and over again without thinning yourself out if you just keep to your systems and your structures and your basics and your ethics.
Agree. Completely agree. And now, Terri, you mentioned a couple of times mentors. So I'd love to hear, it obviously sounds like that is an important piece of your life and something that has really helped you and guided you through your career. So share your thoughts on the value of mentorship.
So in 30 years, I've worked at 3 mortgage companies. The first mortgage company I worked for went out of business. The second mortgage company I left because I felt like I personally just outgrew their infrastructure and what I was looking for and growing. Once I reached being a top producer, I wanted to be with a company that had top producers that well exceeded what I was doing, that I could drive towards, right? But one thing I found in my career is that I was a great salesperson, but I was a horrible business owner, leader, and all the other things. And so I sought out in others what my weaknesses were, and I basically just asked them a lot of times, like, how do you do this and how do you do that? So it was I would honestly say that I think it was my initiation of really focusing on the way someone did stuff that I was doing poorly, that I saw in them. And then I really paid attention, whether it be reached out to them, hey, would you talk to me once a month? Can I have lunch with you? I'd ask them questions. But I really contribute that a lot, as you could tell, to my business growth and my production growth. Because you do only learn, like, it's like reading a book, right? Except you're reading a person. If you didn't read books, you wouldn't learn what's in the books, right? So it's kind of the same thing, but I lean on that a lot because I feel like that's like our adult school is through other successful people. The only thing is that you got to do the work, and most people that you want to try to be like are very successful, so they're very busy. So you have to kind of take the initiation to tell them, like, how good would it feel if I would call you, Laura, and say, I love all the awards behind you. I read your bio. I was so impressed by you. Look at all the things I've highlighted that, that I just like love about you. And, and so I'm sure that there's things that they're going to benefit from me also. And so it really just has become a big part of my life and what has gotten me to where I am today.
So Terri, number one, I've mentored for years and years and years, and all of those mentorships came from people just randomly reaching out to me. And it's very important, and this is good for everybody to hear, right? Everything Terri just said, like, listen to what she said. She said, identify the things where you have your gap. Right? Like we all have gaps, every one of us. None of us are perfect in every section, right? We have our gaps. So the first thing is identify those gaps, understand what those gaps are, right? And then look for someone that's really, really good at that type of thing. Reach out to them. But Terri also said this, make sure you're willing to do the work and hold yourself accountable, because if that person gives you the gift of their time, and that really is a gift and a blessing, make sure that you show up on time. Make sure that you're prepared with your questions and like they're not there to just spew off, oh, let me just give you a roadmap of success. You have to come prepared with those questions and really be, identify what you need their help in, and then do the work that they're providing to you, if they're giving you that advice, and show them that you put that work in. Because the greatest feeling, and I'm sure, Terri, you have mentees too, the greatest feeling, and I have many that I can say, oh my God, it's been such a blessing to watch this person, grow, to watch this person be fulfilled, to watch this person be able to be elevated. That gives me great joy. Doesn't always work out that way though, because sometimes the people aren't ready for that mentorship. So, and the other thing is, I don't care where you are in your career, whether you're in it 30 years or you're in 30 days, you should always be a mentor and a mentee, because everyone has something to teach and everyone has something to learn. So just keep that in mind, regardless of where you are in your career. All right, Terri, we're in the home stretch. I could speak to you for hours and hours. So I know we're going to continue this conversation, but for this purpose, we'd like to end Wednesday Wisdom with, I'm a believer that when we speak something out into the universe, it's planting seeds and taking life. So Terri, if I took out that magic wand and I said to you, if you had unlimited resource, unlimited everything, unlimited knowledge, what would you do? And what would you do with it if you had it?
Well, one, I'd work forever and my husband would be like, where did my wife go? But that's probably first, which he does say sometimes already. But bigger, I would say I have recently found such fulfillment in helping the low income and minority communities right now. It is a huge, it's just something that really fulfills me right now more than ever with what's going on in our country and all that. So I am a U.S. citizen, of course. I'm a Puerto Rican, Hispanic, bilingual female. And so, I'm a minority myself. And I found over the years, unfortunately, Hispanics don't have bank accounts here, never sought out getting a Social Security, never got their paperwork in order. African American, women, same types of things. There's this belief sometimes in the low income minority community that they don't have the same opportunities we have. They have this belief. And most of the time, it's just because they don't have the proper people giving them the time to give them the education. And as we have grown up in these successful businesses and our income has grown, it has allowed us to take the time and do events like the one that I just did. We had 66 women here the other day, and we went over SMART goals and things like that. But we also went over what NARAB is and what NARUP is, and why people think that if it's a Hispanic or minority real estate group that's all that goes there. But in reality, joining NARUP again grew my business by 25% in the last 3 years. So it's if you give, you will naturally receive. And I think that people sometime, and you said it at the beginning of your podcast, is that sometimes people stay like in what they know. They stay in like this bubble. And what I've learned is to adjust. And so if you live in an area where you don't like where you're living, you feel like you deserve more, you're working hard, seek out the opportunities that are out there for you. And my fulfillment and what I would do is I would take time more to educate more low-income minority females primarily, that they have the abilities that we have and they can do the same things that we can do. And I didn't go to college either. And, you know, look at me now, right? So
I love that. And that is a perfect place to end. Terri, this has been a great joy. Thank you for everything. Keep shining brightly. And we're going to leave everyone with, how can they learn more about you?
thank you. You're going to reach me anytime at 856-776-6886. You can call me, text me, or email me at terri.parker@ccm.com. Or, best yet, stop by and see me in person. Our office is in Deptford, New Jersey at 1652 Cooper Street. We are right here in Gloucester County in New Jersey, and we are here every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 to 6.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Terri. Keep shining bright.
Thank you.